Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you to everybody who stopped by earlier as we covered President Trump's speech, and I'm going to get to that. Thank you to Jersey Joe for sitting in with me during that. That was fantastic. Hopefully you're having a good week. It's Wednesday already. It is December 17th. 8 days. 8 days till Christmas. Are you ready? I know you're not ready. None of us are ready. Nobody's ever ready for Christmas. And the people that are ready for Christmas, oh, they scare me. They scare me. I'm always shocked. Every once in a while, you'll bump into that one person who, like, the day after Thanksgiving, they're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm good for Christmas. I used to date someone like that. And it's just like, wow. Wow, you're organized and a scary level of organization. And you should probably get help for that. The whole point of Christmas, if I'm not mistaken, shopping wise anyways, is you wait as long as humanly possible and then you panic shop, you wrap in a mess in like a 4 or 5 hour drinking session. And then you act totally normal when you hand the present off like it wasn't like some sort of secret mission to obtain it. But the ones that are ready are just, oh no, everything was fine. Everything was okay. Everything was all right. No, it was good. I went the day after Black Friday, when everybody was home, but the deals were still good. And I got for Joey and Jimmy and Janie and Frank and Sam and Steve and Christina, blah, blah. And then they just like ramble it off. And you're like, holy moly, dude. Say hi to the people in chat room. Cosmic Bods in the chat. O2AMT in the chat. Mission Ready Men's in the chat. Phantom, who was first, she beat out the Cosmic Bod. She beat out Canada Heavy Haul, who's also in the chat this evening. And also River Common Sense is in the chat. And you can be in the chat. You can absolutely get into the chat. Make it my Christmas gift for you to get in the chat. Wherever you're watching from right now, go to YouTube/SHI Media. You'll see the little circle. It says live. It's red. You can click on that. And then you get a live chat. And you can join all these awesome people who are in chat right now. I got a lot to get to. First, I want to take a moment. The two service members, Guardsmen, that were killed in Syria, came home today. President Trump attended the dignified transfer. And I just want to take a moment for those two because they're heroes and they absolutely deserve it. It's always really hard to watch and They will not be forgotten, and we thank them and their families for their sacrifice to this nation. Again, it comes to the conversation of it doesn't matter what your opinion as to why they were there, and they deserve our respect and our gratitude and our thanks. So moving on, it's hard to transition out of any of that, but I'm gonna do my best. Let's go to Providence. Oh boy, I'll tell you right now, I've been involved in several investigations over my years. I've worked law enforcement, public sector for many years. I have seen several large incidents, and I've never seen a department that is supposed to be a regulated, well-oiled machine. You know, you get into these smaller cities, and you get they may not have the resources. Providence is not a small city. It's a couple 100,000 right around there, but it's a pretty violent city. They have a lot of incidents in Providence. Providence has some crime. Providence has some shooting, has for years. And they've always had it. And this debacle that I am seeing in Providence is like nothing I've never seen before. And I play a clip from the police chief and just from the hearing, the presser today. And these are ridiculous. There's a lot of things I want to point out. Oh, wait, hold on. My bad. That was from the Babylon Bee. And that was absolutely brilliant. But I do have it, and it's right here. And I just want to note a couple things here. Mayor McCheese, and I actually, oh, you know what? I think I have a picture of him. Hold on. Somewhere here I have a picture of him outside the press conference. Let's see. Where is, oh, here it is. I do. Stand by 1 second. I meant to have this ready. But this little twerp is really, really bothering me on so many levels. Let's do this. Oh, come on. There we go. I cannot look. Oh, why isn't it? It's not playing nice with me this evening. It doesn't want to go. Oh, here it is. That's the mayor of Providence, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 100%. That's the mayor of Providence right there. I've never seen all this speculation that's been going on is because of how odd the entire interaction with the leadership of this city and Brown University is. If they rushed the first night, they got, they got a person of interest at 20 miles away at 3 a.m. CNN was there, which I don't know how the hell that happens, but that's neither here nor there. They detain him. I'm guessing GSW didn't pan out and a bunch of other things, and then they had to release him almost 20 hours later. And of course, because somebody in that department leaked who he was, people started looking out and found out it was a white guy from Wisconsin who was in the military. And the left on social media, oh, blah, 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 everything you expect, vomiting out. Oh, of course it's him. It's all, of course it's a white guy. Only white guys do this, blah, 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 blah. And then they released him 20 hours later. It's amazing to me at that point when all of that went south. This little crew I'm about to show you did not sit down and say, all right, before we go to any next steps, we have to get our shit together. And you've seen some of the pictures that they're putting out, right? You've seen some of the suspect images. You've seen, what do they put out today? The whole thing about, they put out this person, and then they said, and it's here somewhere, but they essentially said, oh yeah, this person's not really a suspect, but they were seen kind of near the suspect. So if you see him or her, we haven't really figured out if it's a him or a her yet, just give us a call and let us know, because we want to talk to them as well. And it's like, well, how far out are you going to expand that to? Like, they're either a person of interest or they're not. plain and simple. And I get it. There's a ton of moving parts. I understand investigations. I understand how if all of a sudden you have exculpatory evidence and you got to release the person, you do that, right? That's just part of it. But when you watch these press conferences, it's clearly just whatever works, we'll just throw shit at the wall and sees what happens. And they're saying, oh, we're putting out the best images we have. And you're seeing stuff like this. And I'm like, not for nothing. I know camera. I know how big the camera is, the iris, whether or not they can zoom, they can't zoom, whatever. I get that. But you're telling me that you can't isolate that image better. You can show both images next to each other. But then you get into these pressers. And this is what you're getting from these pressers. And it makes me so angry.
The camera in that building, they brown put off because the sanctuary city law that we have, you don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it comes out from your detectives. They're a friend of mine. They're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera off. They can identify that person. You imagine how the family is going to go through?
I'm going to reiterate what the reporter was asking because the sound wasn't great and he's got a little bit of an accent. It's hard to hear. He's essentially saying, how the fuck do you not have any more cameras than what you're showing us in Brown University? The amount of money that $7-8 million endowment. Here we are, 5 days later? And you don't have a better picture? Yesterday, this pinhead in the back right-hand corner, he's the attorney general. He was talking about, well, there's a new part of the building and that has cameras and the old part didn't have cameras, blah, 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 which I get. But you are in a 200,000 person city. You have a university there that runs the city. The Brown University runs that city. It is because so many of the people either live there or go to school there. That's a lot of their population. And not a fucking, there's no outside camera. There's no inside camera. There's no, all that money, all the funding that you've got. And this guy, this little twerp here, every time he gets on, this is his shtick. I'm going to mention Christmas. I'm going to mention how hard this is on the people. I'm going to try to, the other day he said everyone was tired, which is like the one thing you don't mention at a press conference, like anything like this. He tries to go after the emotions first. People don't want the emotions in these press conferences. People want freaking honesty and reality.
Tell the truth to the media here. You guys are putting cameras off.
We heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown.
The camera in that building.
And they had no answer. And the other thing too, and it's not in this press conference, I thought it was, and I'm sure I have it, but I don't want to bore you while I search for it. The mayor, when the police chief is there, the commander, the mayor is picking and choosing the questions. It's something I've never seen. It's almost like they have such a leash on this mayor and this police chief or this commander. He's a lackey. He was picked because he would do what he was told. He was hired in 2023. His brother or cousin or nephew was picked up in a humongous drug operation, but that's neither here nor there. And you can tell this guy just does whatever the mayor is the police chief, plain and simple. The mayor runs everything. And the optics of these press conferences are very plain and simple. The optics of these press conferences are, pardon, the mayor is in charge. Everybody else is doing what the mayor is saying because they're so afraid of looking bad and potentially outing something that they may not want to out. There's a bunch of rumors out there, et cetera, et cetera. And look, they might be true. They might not be true. As much as, and I tell everybody this, as much as I love the internet is wrong so much, especially when it comes to criminal cases. You have all these people who just keep throwing stuff against the wall. Oh, it's this person, it's this person, it's this person. And the police don't aren't releasing any information. I get it. You have holdbacks in a big investigation like this. You have things you won't put out in public because, well, example, if you have maybe 5 or 6 residences that or 7 residences that you think they're moving between, you don't want to out who the suspect is per se, so you can try to catch them in between. But they don't go that long. They don't. You can't just keep pushing everybody off for an extended period of time, not in this day and age. But there are holdbacks, and I understand the holdbacks. But when you go out and you essentially say, hey, we have nothing, we have new footage, it's not great, I'm really sorry, I don't have any further information. I would rather that in a press conference than all of the bullshit that they're oh, I talked to a pizza person and they're really upset it's the holiday season. Yeah, the whole city's upset. It's 200,000. You had a mass shooting at a university where everything is kind of run around, right? So, yeah, we know you're fucking upset, but just come out and say something like, this is the best we got. I thought we'd have better footage too. You know, the police chief was asked earlier today about Brown University in-car cameras, whether or not the police and the Brown University Police is an accredited police agency. I see a whole bunch of social media geniuses. Well, they're only a public safety. They're only college cops, blah, 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 blah. No. They're cops. They're full-blown cops. They have guns. They have training. They go through all of this SRT training. There's a lot of money in college university police departments, especially ones where the city kind of runs around that because of incidents like this. But when you're the police chief of the city that university is in, and you're 3, 4, 5 days out from a mass shooting, and it's an allied agency that you work with all the time. Providence PD and Brown University answer calls together all the time. I guarantee you they go to calls together all the time. And on the 4th or 5th day, as the police commander, you can't answer a question about in-car cameras for this allied agency that even if you didn't know before this incident, they're auditing every single ICC that responded to that area that day. At least they should be. If they're not, it's fucking crazy. That's a softball pitch. That's a home run every time. Did you look at the Brown University ICCs? Yep, we sure did. We're pulling them. We're auditing them now. We're going through step by step. Next question. You know that. He knows he's getting all of these questions. And all you're getting is bullshit runaround answers. There's 2 dead folks. 2 young people lights were extinguished. You had 9 other people shot. It's the biggest thing that's happened to your city in years since the mob was there. The mob used to be all over Providence, for people that didn't know that. I've been to Providence a lot growing up in Boston. It's only about an hour and a half from Boston. They have some really cool things down there. But this is incompetence on every level. You have no command presence when you're up on stage, not just the police commander, anyone. The attorney general, whatever his name is, he gets combative with every question, which makes you look worse. When you're already on defense and somebody's saying, hey, do you have X, Y, and Z, or have you looked at this? And you just start, how you're asking me questions and this and that. Don't trust everything that's on the, like, dude, you already look like shit. Why are you going to look shittier? All of them should have the most humble, direct and to the point answers right now, because they're not doing anything to impress anybody that has watched this debacle from day one. And the victims of that crime at least deserve that much. You're humble, you're direct, you answer the questions, you're honest, and you're to the point. I understand Providence has a lot of Spanish-speaking individuals, a lot of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, huge populations up there. But when you're doing this whole showmanship of answering a question in English and then in Spanish, well, if the reporter's bilingual and can speak English and Spanish, they can translate for the written media. And for the one that's not written media, most people, can speak English, or it has somebody who can that can translate someone who doesn't. But stop with the showmanship of answering every third question in English and Spanish. We get it. You speak two languages. That's not catching anybody. It's a weird act that you're putting on. And they should all be fucking embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them. I have been covering the story. I've been writing articles on SHR Media, updating articles on SHR. I've been following the story so closely. And I'll tell you something. After the second day, when the press conferences started, I dread watching the press conferences because I'm embarrassed for them. When you're so bad that an observer who's going to report on this can't sit through your press conferences, not because you're unlistenable, not because you have some like weird tick. No, it's because you were so fucking bad at this and you were so disorganized, and there's clearly some sort of leash being held from somewhere else, and that your police commander is looking like a jackass on TV. It's horrible. I can't deal with it. Please do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'm about to take a break. Wherever you're watching from, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 700. We were at 697, 698 or something like that. So we're just like that close. We're like right there. Just if you could, I don't care. If you have other YouTube accounts, I don't care. Go ahead and subscribe, right? That's on you. You're not doing anything illegal. It's okay to subscribe on more than one YouTube account. I think I've never seen anything to the contrary. I could be wrong, but I will be right back.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SA.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Moving right along. President Trump gave his speech this evening from the White House. It did not have what many people were expecting, which was a lot, if any, about Venezuela. As people like and subscribe. And Orty says you're asking a lot with my short bandwidth this year. Cosmic Bot says like and subscribe. Come on, I can only do one or the other. No, I know it's a lot to ask, and I'm not trying to pressure you guys. So earlier this evening, we carried here on SHI Media, President Trump delivered a national address reviewing what he says his administration has accomplished, focusing on the economy, immigration, national security, and the cost of living. Before Cosmic Bard says this 100% should have been the State of the Union speech. F that 90-minute crap. Yeah, I know. The State of the Union speeches can get long, but so yeah, no Venezuela in the conversation. That was the big one. I think everybody was expecting, maybe even like announcing that we were bombing as he was speaking or something like that. You know, in modern media, you go back to Bush during the first invasion, and you know, we all knew it was coming at some point. And you know, he gave the speech like right now as we speak. There's the attack is ongoing. I think people, when there's tension built up, I think people expect that. And that didn't come tonight. First, he hit on the jobs and the economy. And he was talking about 100% of all jobs created are in the private sector. No federal jobs created, which is kind of good to see. 18 trillion in new investments committed to the U.S. 18 trillion. We knew that number, but it's good to hear. Native-born employment rising. And I actually, look at this. Ready? Price decreases, and this is hotels, propane, prescription, sporting events. Some things are still up. Food's still up a little bit, admittedly. Tariffs are going to take time to settle. Gasoline, you got raw goods. It's a lot. And look, going up 37% for Biden and then down 5.1%. That's a pretty good swing. So he was talking a lot about tariffs, which is, he said, is his favorite word. Gasoline being under $2.50 in most of the country. There are exceptions. Some states are lower. There's under $2 in some places. And when you live in a place like California, where I live, it is unbelievably higher. New electrical generations to lower overall power costs, which is a big deal. And a couple things. First of all, they're getting built, so that means jobs, which is great. But the other thing is power cost has gone up considerably. I wonder if that has something to do with the amount of people that were consuming it. He's talking about inflation and how under the Biden administration, it, quote, robbed millions of Americans of home ownership. And for most people, mortgage payments will be down around $3,000 a year. He moved on to healthcare and drug pricing. Drug prices being cut 4, 5, 600% in some drugs, not all. We got the most favored nation pricing model. At least that's what he's working for. Will we actually get a deal because we buy so much? Talked about TrumpRx.gov. I have not gone to TrumpRx.gov for prescription medications, but you're welcome to do that. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. Called the ACA the Unaffordable Care Act, which it is. And speaking of that today, the House passed H.R. 6703, which is pseudo replacement for Obamacare. They did not add the subsidies that were in there that we've been paying for years to hide how bad Obamacare is. So that's going to go through to the Senate, where the fight's going to happen. That's going to be the big fight. That's going to be the struggle. We can all know that's coming now. But one of the things that, and I'll talk about that bill later, actually. I'm going to finish up on Trump first. And he reiterated that the money for any money coming from the government to help pay for healthcare should go to the people so they can choose where they want to buy. All of those things, I think, resonated with people. He talked about immigration crisis, blamed it all on Biden, which we all knew. 60% of growth in the rental markets under the Biden administration, 60% was by illegals, according to President Trump. Let's see. I think I have another graph here somewhere. That is the real wage changes by under Trump versus Biden, down almost $3,000 under Biden, and up in all sectors by $1,000, factory workers 1,300, construction workers average of 1,826, and mining 3,336. He mentioned that there was a lot of investment in mining, which I thought was interesting. Here's the gas prices, as we talked about earlier, being down. Here's the mortgage cost increase under Biden, almost $14,600, and down, like I said, almost $3,000 under Trump. And then, of course, the native born employment level, which is, according to the Trump administration, astronomically high. Going back to immigration, he talked about the increased costs of immigration through healthcare, education, and law enforcement. Yeah. That's something that does not get talked about. We talk about healthcare, we talk about education, but we don't talk about the increase from having all of these people, 50 million, 20 million, 10 million, no matter where you look, it's unacceptable, who are now using public services like fire and police. You don't talk about the responses for them. You don't talk about the increased crime with them. You don't talk about dealing with them. And that's something that it adds time to every calls, and it adds calls. And that's something taxpayers get saddled with. He mentioned that we officially have reverse migration for the first time in our history. In other words, we're getting rid of more people than we're allowing in, which is a positive. And he brought up Minnesota, the fraud in Minnesota, and the Somalis in Minnesota, and why that's an example of why we have to get our immigration totally under control. And I couldn't agree more. His closing themes were America first, make America great again. He did touch on the World Cup and the Olympic hosting. And of course, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The coolest thing, and I know a lot of people, when they hear just anyone making a speech, but especially a politician, they're just kind of like, just give me the fast and short. The coolest thing I'm leaving to the end, because as I said on air, is entirely deserved. Every active military member is going to get a $1,776 essentially bonus. It's going out right now, according to him, as a thank you for their service and celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I thought that was super cool. I thought that was something that, look, I said on the air, and I'll say it right here. O2AMT is talking about in chat, talking about small and medium, they're just as bad. The level of fraud is just not as visible. Yeah, I'm sure anytime you have a population, look, as I talked about Monday night, when you have a group of immigrants, legal or otherwise, that come to an area, and once a group of them figure out how to scam, that word passes like wildfire. And I'm sure if you have relatives in Maine, or if they're living in Maine, they have relatives in Minnesota, and I'm sure all of that information was passed down, because a lot of people work their whole life just trying to scam people out of other money, including taxpayers. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool that Trump took care of the military members. It doesn't happen enough. Our military is underpaid. And I know in a time when we're trying to save money and we're trying to find ways to bring the debt down, etc., I get all of that. I really do. But our veterans and our service members are one of those places where I'm pretty open to the ideas. Like, hey, you want to find new and exciting ways to say thank you to these folks, to make their lives better for everything that they do for us, for our nation, to expand their well-being. Yeah, it's hard for me to say no. Look, I'm the guy who years ago on Sackheads Radio said, when we kick the UN out, which needs to happen almost immediately, if not sooner. By the way, there was a big report that we're lowering our funding to the UN considerably, which is kind of awesome. I didn't have time to get into the meat and potatoes of it, but I saw it just before I went to air. But yeah, I said, look, you kick the UN the fuck out of the country, and then you turn the UN grounds into the biggest VA hospital in the country, a place where we can bring people in for long-term treatment, their families can come and stay for long-term treatment, research, all of that. Run it out of the UN. look, if you're a veteran and you're in California and you have a long-term care for an illness that you have, yeah, we have military planes that go back and forth all the time for one reason or other. We can find a way to get you over there, and then you can stay there until you're treated, because our veterans deserve at least that. So it was a good speech. A lot of reaction was positive. A lot of people felt like that speech may have been gearing up for something entirely different, as I mentioned earlier. So I think people that were expecting that kind of felt like something was missing. But by and large, talking amongst ourselves and SHI media and watching a lot of the people, his passion and the speech was up. His fire to show what the administration has done was good. And it was a needed speech. He needed to go out and grandstand a little bit for what this administration has accomplished so far, because there are so many networks that do not cover it, newspapers that do not cover it, online liberal assholes who say the opposite intentionally because they don't have to have any integrity. They're not a news site. They're none of that stuff. So for him to go out in front of America, and a lot of people tuned into this one. I guarantee you the viewership for this one was way up because of everything that's going on in Venezuela. And I think a lot of people got to see what Trump actually has accomplished, or it looks like is accomplishing. So I think it was a good speech. I think it was the right time. Midterms are going to be fully underway in March. No questions asked. By March, that's when you start seeing all the political ads come back. That's when you're going to see all the BS start. Trump's allegedly going back out in the trail to help in the midterms, which I think is a great idea. So to be able to get this out now ahead of all of that in a speech where, like I said, with Venezuela hanging over the head, people thought that was what this was going to be about, no matter what the preempting of it was. And I think it was a solid speech. Randall Todd over on Facebook says that food prices are never going down. Maybe, Randall. It's yet to be seen. If we start getting more processing plants here for meat and a couple other things, food price could start to go down. But like I said, if food prices only drop a little bit, which they have dropped overall, as long as you are paying attention to what you're buying and where you're buying, your food prices are not horrible. The problem we have in this country is we buy a lot of stuff without looking at where it's from. And I do it myself. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. But if you pay attention a little bit more, you could actually probably do yourself some good there. Get 2 minutes for the break. I want to talk about this. This was from Piers Morgan the other night, and I forget this New York Times writer. He's just a scumbag. And they were talking about the Bondi Beach attack. And this guy's trying to set up Jillian Michaels, and I'm sure you've all seen this, but I think it's worth a watch, as being a white nationalist and a white supremacist. And just listen to how this turns out for him. And again, this is what happens when you only have racism to base your argument on.
Talking points are from 2001, which is why I yawned. The DeLorean right now is in 2025. Listen, I've been in this for a long time, Jill. I know you're just discovering this. Congratulations.
I think I've also.
Let me just finish.
Okay,
I let you say a lot of hateful, stupid, reckless things about Muslim Islam. I sat there and,
would you like to say one?
I just sat there.
That's 20 million people.
Jillian, you are
you
by your own admission.
Dead,
you by your own admission are a white nationalist. You by your own admission. That's what you are, a white nationalist. You admitted it.
I'm a white nationalist. I'm Arab, right?
I'm
Syrian and Lebanese and Turkish.
Okay, you're the one whose talking points are from 2000.
Oh man. Look, the whole point of that conversation on Piers Morgan is Islam a problem, right? And they're hashing all of that out however they were going to, and they had all different people. And this is Pierce's new thing where he gets 6 people and he has kind of like 4 on 3, 4 on 3, 3 on 3, 4 on 2. And he really starts kind of making sure people get amped up. And then it does and incredibly draw somebody out like that. His whole point was to say that everything, yeah, Wajad Ali is his name. Thank you, Mission Ready Men. Everything is just Islamophobia, which is a word. Phobias and phobic are words that I really wish go away in 2026. Everything's Islamophobic, or it's a white national thing, and everyone's racist. That's his whole shtick, right? Democrats have not learned that is not how you're going to win an argument, and that's not how you're going to win people. They just refuse to let that go. Yeah, it's seriously like, it's almost like having like a 6 or 7 year old boy who's walking around with his hands in his pants, holding his ween the entire time. Like almost every boy does it. You're like, dude, you got to let it go. Dude, you got to let it go. Take your hands out of your pants. You got to let it go. It's not going anywhere. You got to let it go. That's racism. And right now, Islamophobia for Democrats. And here's the problem. I read a study, and it's something like 90% of all terrorist and violent and mass casualty incident events since like 1990, or no, since 9/11, I'm sorry, is conducted by Muslims, right? You're not gonna win it by just saying everybody's racist and not start to talk about the societal problems, the problem with Islam, all of that stuff. It's not going to go away. And you're not going to win anyone over by saying, oh my gosh, you're racist because you're mad about this. Yeah, we get mad when people get slaughtered, especially when they get specifically targeted and slaughtered. Be right back after this.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
And welcome back. The final, it's usually 17, but I was late on both my breaks. Of the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. Please do me a favor, like the episode from wherever you're watching and subscribe to the network if you haven't already. We have a bunch of great shows being simulcast on it with my good friends over at KLRN Radio, and we're thankful for them. So Trump expectedly expanded the travel ban for countries coming into America. And almost like she was waiting for another opportunity to be an idiot in front of a camera, you had Ilhan Omar run to CNN and say this.
President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday expanding the list of countries with full or partial travel restrictions from 39 to 39. That's up from 19. And Somalia is on that list. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, the biggest worry of the new executive order is that it does separate families. It doesn't create an exception for U.S. citizens to have their family members be able to come visit and celebrate milestones with them. And so this is a very cruel, inhumane immigration policy that he is putting in place.
Elon, nobody has a right who's not a citizen to come into this country. That's something that, and I know she knows this. Look, she does things that are completely anti-American, and she says a lot of things. She's not stupid. She knows exactly what she's saying, right? Oh, well, they can't celebrate milestones. Yeah, well, a lot of them celebrate milestones and never fucking leave. I'm here for my 5th birthday and for my 18th and for my 25th, right? We're seeing that time and again. And let's talk about some of the countries that were in that proclamation and why maybe, just maybe, we don't want them coming over right now. Afghanistan, kind of a no-brainer. Burma, Chad, both conflict areas. Republic of Congo, again. Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti. Yeah, okay. Haiti is completely run by warlords right now, minus a postage stamp size. Iran, okay. Libya, same thing. Somalia, same thing. Sudan, and Yemen. Those were pretty much no-brainers, and the fact that they weren't on the list already is actually kind of scary. Countries that have been identified as concerned is Cuba, Burundi, Togo, and Venezuela, naturally. Full suspension from Burkina Faso, Laos, Mali, Niger, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Syria, Palestinian Authority documents, so Palestine, Angola, and Barbuda, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, the Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Turkmenistan, Zambia. You see a common thread, and it's not through the lens of color, race. They're all countries that have a serious problem at home for one reason or another. A lot of them, the countries are Islamists. And the other thing that they don't take into consideration is a lot of these are unbelievably poor countries who cannot and are unable or do not want to, in some cases, vet their own people. So when they apply for a visa, we can actually find out a history on who they are. It's weird. It's almost like I bet you Australia wish they thought that better today, but they didn't. Actually, they don't wish that. They just ran out and blamed guns for the problem, and not the core value, which is just unbelievable to me. But yeah, this isn't something that, to me, it's something that should have been done a long time ago. Like, this should have already been fucking done. And the fact that it hasn't been is kind of a bother, in my opinion. Let's see. Oh, it would help if I go back to where all my clips are. So I want to move up to Seattle. I know BZ touched on this the other night, but it's something that the news really blocked and didn't really talk about a whole lot. 2 police officers were stabbed on December 12th in Bellevue, Washington. They responded to a 911 call that was made by the suspect. The suspect lured them in. Upon arrival, the suspect produced a kitchen knife, and this happened.
Call one's closed. Fire, shot fire. Radio copy. Shots fired at 12:34.
Where is that radio?
I believe that's going to be 1 Adam at the Bellevue Downtown Transit Center.
1 Adam 12.
I'm hit. I'm bleeding from the head. Start EMS now. Copy, starting EMS. 1 Adam 12 hit. 13 has passed. 045, putting on a fire recall. Okay. 044, put a full back and sending an assessment. 040, an officer has a head laceration, neck laceration, and a stab wound in the back. 300, 400 block of 110. Tell them to come to the transit center, please.
I just unbelievable audio. So the suspect allegedly attacked officers with a knife. One of them seriously injured. He has dislocated shoulder and had other stab wounds. The suspect was shot. He is in the hospital recovering because, that's how it works out for people like him. And they're going to be filed for a felony, which is a shock in Washington, especially in Bellevue, which is right outside Seattle, that they're charging him with a felony and not like a cite and release or something like that. The suspect is from Sierra Leone. There's a lot of question to his immigration status. There's unofficial, unconfirmed reports, and I've seen this a few different places, and not on social media per se, that Allahu Akbar was yelled. That could be wrong. I will admit that. But it does kind of fit a trend. Lure the police in and attack them, try to kill them both. And it just shows you like how scary shit can be out there, even still for cops. So you have that covered. And then in the middle of all this, you have this idiot, Representative Cohen, Steve Cohen, who is one of the biggest, I hate to say losers because that's Trump word, shitbags in Congress. And he's a quiet shitbag. He doesn't get all the attention, but usually when he says something, it's really just assholic. The suspect will be on the street as soon as he gets out of the hospital. Yeah, and you and I are probably going to pay Boyd for that hospital stay. It's not like he's had insurance that's going to be picking that tab up. But here's Representative Boyd when they're talking about immigration. Listen to what he says. This is kind of funny.
The president created the Crime in Memphis Task Force, which was designed to surge federal law enforcement resources in Memphis and improve coordination across agencies. I support the additional FBI, DEA, and AFT agents that have come into Memphis because we already had them in Memphis.
Okay, we're off to a good start. Hey, Memphis is a lot of crime. We got federal support. That's a good thing. Residents of Memphis have been agreeing that is a good thing.
And they're finding guns and illegal guns, and they're finding drugs, and they're finding other crimes.
Now, remember that. Here's a Democrat who, when they're talking about surging agents into areas under the Trump administration to try to help with crime, they're finding drugs, they're finding guns, and they're dealing with other crimes. That's admitted to. He will say that. So when they say, well, they're not even doing anything, well, here's a representative who's saying, no, they're actually doing something. But then he goes off the rails because he's a moron.
That are against federal law. But he also put the National Guard in, and he put some ICE agents in. Memphis is not an immigration center of crime.
That's not true. Memphis has a lot of immigration and illegals. Illegals, when you surge over 10 million to 20 million, depending on the numbers, into the country, they spread out pretty evenly. And when Trump's going to surge ATF, FBI, DEA, and other federal agencies, why would you not surge ICE? Because then you first of all, they have support, which they don't get out of cities like Chicago, federal backup. And you now have a resource where, say you go into a room, say you're the FBI or the DEA or whoever, and you have 8 people detained because there's 14 pounds of coke in the bed or whatever, and 2 of them you're not going to charge, but you find out they're illegals. Well, they're hanging out with criminals. They're around crime. They're around criminal entity. They don't belong in this country. So why wouldn't you have them there on top of just regular enforcement?
And most of the people that are there that are immigrants, even if they did come into the country illegally, most of them are working legally and doing a lot of important work in Memphis.
Can't do that. You can't enter the country illegally and work legally. You can't do that. You have businesses can't hire you if you're illegal, and you cannot work if you're illegal. You're not supposed to be able to work. And he just said, oh, they may come in illegally, but they work illegally. No. Either that business is intentionally breaking the law because they have to be checked, or the person who is working legally is using somebody else's information, and that's an additional crime. But this is what we get. This is what we get from Democrats. If it's not about race, it's about Islamophobia. If it's not about Islamophobia, it's about ICE. If it's not about ICE, well, they don't have anything. Racism. That's all they have by, right? And when they admit openly, hey, these guys are doing something illegal, but that's okay, we shouldn't care. That tells you how little concern they have for the rule of law, the integrity of our national borders, and the Constitution, and the American citizens who may be out of a job because of their presence. This rhetoric is only going to go up. With these midterms coming, it's, oh boy, is it going to go up. But this is what needs to be done. Despite all of their bullshit antics, despite all of their cries of racism, despite all, oh, you're Islamophobic if you don't want an Islamist who openly says that their whole goal is to destroy the country, kill 15 people. You're a horrible person. Think of what they're leaning into. Think of who they're leaning into. And think about how long they've been leaning into it. And they will not change course. Because the progressive wing of that party is shaming them all to be more progressive. Cohen's always a progressive. He always has been. But there are other ones. This is what we are up against as a nation. As these midterms start to ramp up after the first of the year, even on a local level, you need to start identifying who these people are when you vote. Because they're voting against you and I. They're pushing against you and I. They're trying to erode the Constitution, the document that's kept our rights in place, the document that says we have certain inalienable rights that are given to us by the laws of nature, or defined by the laws of nature. In other words, government doesn't give you these. Government can't take these away unless you go to federal prison or you go to prison or commit a felony in certain situations. Then you can lose some, but you don't lose them all. And they don't care about any of that. They don't care about you as a tax-paying citizen who's never done anything illegally. They care about everybody else. And you know the answer why. They believe in open borders. They want the one world government. You will own nothing, and you will be happy, as it was said earlier tonight, and BZ has said numerous times. That's their goal. And when you have in a hearing, a sitting representative say, yeah, these people might be illegal, but they're working legal jobs, when he knows that's not possible. It's because he wants his people to believe that it is. As Rush Limbaugh used to call them, the low information voters, the drive-by voters. He wants them to believe that it is possible. So everything that we're doing to actually enforce the laws of our land and protect the citizens and get rid of the bad people seems like that is the problem when it is not. Folks, that's going to be it for me tonight. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Edge of Liberty. I'm here every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Also, please check out the other great shows on the network. Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You have Mission Ready Men with my buddy Big E. Tuesday, Thursday night, you have BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Fridays and Mondays, I said that backwards, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You have Reaver Common Sense with Jersey Joe, who's really fighting to make a comeback this Friday. We hope he does. And then on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific, and I know he's going to yell at me if I don't say it exactly right, but that's okay. The Lost Wanderer Show is on our YouTube, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. I appreciate you being here. Please check out all the great articles on shmedia.com. Please like and subscribe and have a great week. I will be back next week, so you don't get to go into Christmas without seeing this ugly mug one more time. Take care. Have a good night.